8,000 miles away from Johannesburg in rainy Washington, D.C., the South African embassy is pausing to remember the country's most famous son. A book of condolences just inside the building's entrance has already been signed by local people who've come specially to pay their respects. Ebrahim Rasool, South Africa's ambassador to the US, accompanied by the mayor of Washington, D.C., spoke of their shock at Mandela's death and how much he meant to the city.
There's also been a sense that even though we have anticipated that Nelson Mandela will not be with us forever, we can't help but be shocked at his passing.
He mattered to people in the District of Columbia. So many of our residents participated frequently in protests and demonstrations, even being arrested at the South African embassy as they joined the fight to end apartheid. He meant so much to the people of this city for what he represented, for who he was, and frankly, for what he accomplished.
But it's not only diplomats, politicians and embassies remembering Nelson Mandela here in Washington, D.C. As Mayor Vincent Gray said, for many African Americans here, he was a civil rights icon, and they too want to pay tribute. At the Smithsonian's African Art Museum, another book of condolences reflects an outpouring of thankfulness to a man many here saw as one of their own.
It's so easy for us to get complacent, and especially as an African-American woman, just even in here in the U.S., I think it's really important for all of us to recognize that he just has had such a major impact on social justice.
He's such a revolutionary, and I think that word just is perfect for him, and he's had such an influence on so many people's lives.
The President of the United States and Mrs. Clinton, accompanied by the President of the Republic of South Africa.
Nelson Mandela visited Washington numerous times, receiving the Congressional Medal of Honor in 1998. He was a personal friend of President Bill Clinton, but it wasn't only for his political visits that he'll be remembered in the city. After the assassinations of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, he became an adopted American civil rights hero. The museum director says that in a city with a population over 50% African American, he's inspired great devotion.
The situations of South Africa and the United States, the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, was not about something that is so foreign to my country. We called it racial segregation. It was called apartheid in South Africa. There are deep feelings of connectedness, certainly in the African American community.
Washington's now preparing to honour Nelson Mandela in a formal, public way, with a memorial service at the National Cathedral next Wednesday. But many residents have already paused for their own private acts of remembrance. Lorna Shaddick, Washington.